Thank you so much for attending my PowerPoint presentation on every neutral creep explained. First up is the Cobalt camp, and every position 5 absolutely hates this spawn because of how awful it is to do a single pull with. It has the most units of any possible small camp spawn at 5, which makes it a nice little positive for alchemists, but pretty much everyone else hates to see it because of how weak these guys are. Even with how many of them there are, you're lucky to get a single melee creep sacrificed to them before the rest of the wave immediately detaches and marches right down the lane into the offlaner's wallet. Now, as compensation for being terrible in every way, it also has 3 different passives tied to the Cobalt, the Cobalt Warriors, and the Cobalt Foreman. The base Cobalts, who have otherwise no redeeming qualities, have Prospecting Aura, which gives a small GPM boost to any nearby friendly units. It starts at 20 and scales up to 40, and even a Chen player in very dire straits would refuse to use Holy Persuasion on these guys. The Kobold Warrior, meanwhile, is extremely annoying for any carry with low attack speed attempting to farm this camp, because on the third hit, he will disarm his target. Considering his extreme lack of tankiness and the need to hit you 3 times in succession, you will never see this guy picked up with the Helm of the Dominator for the purpose of disarming an enemy hero. Instead, Chen players will turn to the Kobold Foreman, who has a movement speed bonus aura that starts at a respectable 12%. It's not exactly great, but if you had to pick between a dry bologna sandwich and a rotting banana for breakfast, which one would you choose? Next is the Hill Troll camp, whose most iconic feature is preventing you, as a Storm Spirit, from getting an overload charge when you try to farm it with your Q. That feature comes from the Hill Troll Berserkers, who have a timed break on all of their attacks. The Hill Troll Priest, who's chilling in the cut behind them, has not only an active ability, but also a passive. They are so eloquently named Heal and Heal Amplification Aura. The former is a 100 HP heal on a fairly low cooldown that you can pick up early in order to keep your carry happy. The second is an aura that boosts all incoming healing for units next to it, which doesn't play very nicely with Chen's Hand of God. It's not as much as Holy Locket, and you still won't see it come into play very often, but if you want to piss off the enemy mid laner, grab one of these guys, send him over to the mid lane, and just use it on your own mid for the entire laning phase. And if he still dies solo to the enemy pause 2, just know that he wasn't worth the TP you could have pump faked in order to possibly save him. Surprise! The Kobolds and Hill Trolls have formed an alliance, and they're here to be the most mid-small camp spawn in the entire game. This camp consists of 2 Hill Troll Berserkers and also the Kobold Foreman. He's back, baby, and he's moving faster than ever. Next up are the Vul Assassins, and this is where the small camp starts to get a little bit spicy. All 3 of these guys have a pretty solid HP pool, and they also have a special right-click effect called Envenomed Weapon. In addition to dealing a respectable damage over time, they can reduce the target's HP regeneration by up to 90% at max level. If you're ever playing as Doom and you're up against heroes like Necrophos, Alchemist, or Huskar, grab one of these guys, use the effect, and watch as the enemy becomes extremely confused and then dead. Next is the Ghost Camp, and I fully believe that this spawn is the reason why Helm of the Dominator was able to take over TI last year. The primary reason is because of the large ghost, simply named Ghost's, passive effect, Frost Attack. This is a powerful movement and attack speed slow that scales up to 37% and 37% for the attack, which lets you know that Valve at some point had to nerf it from 40. The main reason you'll get familiar with this camp is when you have to pull with it and it manages to attack you, and your hero's movement speed suddenly slows to a crawl, wondering if you'll be able to make the pull or not. Aside from raising your cortisol levels whenever you play position 5, it's mostly just a great target for Helm of the Dominator because of how strong that movement speed slow is. Also, the little ghosts have a unit target silence. I bet you didn't know that, because I didn't either until about 8.5 seconds ago. Next are the Harpies, and I freaking hate these guys. My hatred primarily stems from the Harpy Stormcrafter and their active ability, Chain Lightning. This is a small bouncing magical nuke, similar to Zeus's Q, but with a key difference. Most jungle creeps won't cast your spells unless there's a certain amount of you or they reach a certain HP threshold. But in the case of the Harpy Stormcrafter, it actually depends on your HP total. For some reason, Valve thought it would be a funny idea to make the Harpy Stormcrafter cast the spell on you when you are low and no other time. This means that if you're narrowly escaping a gank in the safe lane, you walk past these guys and the Stormcrafter smells blood, sorry buddy, but you're going to spend an extended amount of time respawning, because someone at Valve thought it was funny. In their defense, they are correct. And finally, we have the Poliwogs, the newest entry to the small camp roster. They come packaged with a Riverborn aura that will increase your movement speed and outgoing damage whenever you're inside of water near them. Still, most players know them because they're just some little guys. Look at them, they're just little scrumbly bumbos. My scringy bingus. Ooh, Valve, please make a plushie of these guys. I will buy 14. Before moving on to the medium camps, if you want to farm up some knowledge of the Dota 2 pro scene, go ahead and check out Blast Slam 6. The playoffs are happening this weekend. If you're tired of queuing up for ranked Dota only for some random bitch-ass tiny player to pick up a phylactery and use toss on you over and over again, take a break from queuing for a few hours and watch it happen to a pro player instead. Largo and Ember Spirit are also heavily contested, which makes for a very fun mid-game experience, occasionally interrupted by musical interludes. Tournament info will be linked in the description, please check it out, and thank you Blast for helping support Dota 2 PowerPoints. Now first on the list is the medium Centaur spawn, which consists of the Conqueror, who comes equipped with a hoof stomp, and his little sidekick, the Centaur Courser. Now as far as jungle abilities go, the Centaur Conqueror's War Stomp is probably the most famous because it triggers whenever he's near 3 or more enemy units. The thing is, outside of his fellow jungle compatriots, he considers everybody his enemy, and it's hilarious having an early game skirmish only for this big blue fuck to walk up. You already know that something hilarious is about to happen, and you just have to pray that you won't wind up being the butt of the joke. The Centaur Courser, meanwhile, has an aura that reduces all incoming magic damage by a significant amount. Oh wait, these guys are literally an AoE stun and a pipe of insight. Can I have these guys as my offlaner? Now for the Wolf Camp, and let me just start off by saying that I freaking hate these guys. The Alpha Wolf, which is the one in the middle with the zebra mohawk, has one of the best auras in the entire game, making it a top priority for Doom players. Pack Leader's aura grants 20% increased outgoing attack damage to the user and everyone near them, with a small linger delay. That is a completely ridiculous amount of damage, and you can take even better advantage of it with the critical strike that he comes equipped with. That's all well and good, but the reason I hate this camp so much is because of the Giant Wolf, which are actually the small ones, Intimidate ability. This is a small AoE ability that triggers whenever they get below 50% HP that will temporarily reduce all of your outgoing attack damage by 50%. They will activate this as soon as they go below 50% HP, and that means that you will get not just one, but 2 mighty yops in your ear whenever you're farming this camp. With a 4-second duration and a scaling AoE, I feel like there has to be some kind of merit to picking these up with Helm of the Dominator or as a Chen or Enchantress or something, and yet I have never seen anyone do it. In short, if you really want to piss off a Sven or a Phantom Assassin, hoo boy, do I have the tech for you. Next is a medium Satyr camp, which is really just a warm-up for the true Shadow Wizard money gang that will spawn in the hard camps. The big blue ones are Satyr Mind Stealers, who have a targeted mana burn ability and also a mana regeneration aura. But the ones that everyone loves to hate are the Satyr Banishers, the little white ones who come with a Purge ability. Not only does it dispel buffs, which is already super annoying, but on top of that, it applies a 50% movement speed slow that lasts for 5 seconds, giving them access to one of the best slows in the entire game. Luckily, they only do this if you have something to purge, meaning that if you walk up with the Clarity active and Bloodlust from Ogre Magi, sorry buddy, but you're going to be walking a little slow for a while. And now for the Ogre camp, which quite notably is a colossal lore break. The big orange ones are the Ogre Bruisers, and when they get below 50% HP, they will begin winding up a big ol' smack. If you are hit by Ogre Smash, you will have to endure a very long stun, as well as taking a massive amount of damage to both your HP and your current emotional state. There are 2 of them, which means 2 chances to get rung like a bell at a carnival game, and this is the leading cause of embarrassed carries getting their TP cancelled when they tried to join a fight mid-jungling. There's also the Ogre Frost Mage, which is a lore break because according to Ogre Magi's lore, ogres are too stupid to learn how to do magic, but apparently this guy figured it out. He, or possibly a she, has access to Frost Armor, which allows you to cast Lich's Old W. The reason I question the pronouns is because the Frost Mage is blue while the Bruisers are orange, which are the same color palettes that Ogre Magi is made of. For all we know, these are his parents. Next up are the Mud Golems, who are hilarious. The first point of humor is that they have 30% base magic resistance, which makes it absolutely abysmal to be recovering from a mid lane only to find these guys in the stack you just made. The second is because when they die, they will immediately split into more golems, 4 little tiny ones if you kill both of the parents. Before the Poliwogs were added to the game, these functioned as Dota's equivalent of the Scrimbly Bimbo, though they have since been outclassed. And the third and most important point of humor is that every single one of them has a unit target stun called Hurl Boulder. This is a fairly simple stun, but there's ways to take advantage of it by killing your own Mud Golem in the middle of a fight and then having 3 stuns to throw at an enemy hero. There's not much more to say, except that when you devour them as Doom and pick up the passive, when you die, you will spawn 2 little Doomlets that you can run around and do with as you please. And now for the Froglet camp, which is what happens when those scrumbly little bumbos grow up into their teenage phase. While they lose the bulk of their cuteness, they maintain Riverborn aura in addition to 2 new abilities. The first is Arm of the Deep, a toned-down version of Nyx Assassin or Lion stuns that trigger whenever there's 3 or more enemy units nearby, making it a total pain to farm these guys as Phantom Lancer. The second is labeled in the game as Water Bubble Small. This is a magical damage shield that the Marsh Mage will cast on the lowest person in the camp regardless of if they're even taking magical damage or not. This makes the Chud Babies the 3rd neutral camp we've covered so far whose sole purpose is to make Storm Spirit upset. And now for the hard camps, starting with the big Centaur spawn, because one case of Big Steppy whenever you try to pop Manta style and micro them to a lane wasn't enough. This camp is the same as the medium version with the exception that there are 2 coarser spawns, and notably their magic resistance aura stacks. This makes it the 4th and the 2nd consecutive camp whose sole purpose is to make Storm mad. And now for the real Shadow Wizard money gang, because now the Satyr Tormentor has joined the fray. This 2-eyed, 2-horned, walking purple people eater has access to Shockwave, better known by many Dota players as the Hadoken. This is a magical damage skill shot that he will once again use if there are 3 or more enemy units attempting to invade his domicile. At only 160 magical damage, it doesn't sound like it would do much, but there have been multiple side pull attempts that have ended with this guy getting a triple kill. He also has access to Unholy Aura, which is a strange name for something that really just regens HP. Oh, and the Satyr Banisher is back, so if you thought your clarity was safe, think again. And now for Tomato and Potato, the Hellbear camps. Not only do these guys have a ridiculous amount of HP, armor, and damage, but they also have 4 different abilities split between them. The Tomato has access to Thunderclap, a shockingly wide radius magic AoE nuke that has claimed the lives of many an overconfident position 4. It also has Death Throw power, so when it dies, everything near it will get its attack damage boosted by 60% for a couple seconds. The Potato is unable to make it clap, but it does have access to Swiftness Aura, which boosts the attack speed of any friends nearby. Upon shedding its mortal coil, the Potato also casts Death Throw Rush, increasing nearby attack speeds by 120. If you've always wanted to pick up Chen, but you're afraid of the micro, go ahead and pick him, use the Hellbear facet to summon these guys over and over again, and just feed them. If you're a Path of Exile player and you've always wanted to make a cast-on death build that actually did something, Chen has given you that opportunity. Please don't squander it. These are the Wildwings, and you should respect them, because there is always a chance that they will decide to save your life for no benefit of their own. This is because of the Wildwing Ripper, the big one in the middle, having access to Hurricane, a vector target movement ability that activates when there's more than 1 unit nearby. In short, he can give you advance notice that there is a Shadow Fiend channeling his ultimate right on top of you, and completely ruin it for him for no goddamn reason. He also has a Toughness Aura that provides armor to nearby friendly units, but who cares about that when he's also Dota 2's equivalent of Life Alert? The little ones behind him are the Wildwings, and they can cast Tornado, a very strange ability that stays in place and deals magic damage to a shockingly large radius, even though the visual model is nowhere near you. Whenever the Ripper in their camp dies, they have a 33% chance to cast it, so if you want to make sure they never do, kill the babies first. And here comes the Troll camp, and I don't need to tell you what kind of shenanigans this camp enables. First, we have the 2 Hill Trolls, who have access to a 1.75 second long unit target root, which sounds amazing, but it is nothing compared to what the Summoner brings to the table. Big Jim in the middle there has access to Raise Dead, which summons 3 tiny skeleton warriors who will completely ruin your game. This is because they have access to Rally, an aura that will multiply the damage that they deal depending on how many other skeletons are near them. It's a small boost, but when there are 3, and sometimes even 6 of them, they can wind up taking a tier 1 tower in the blink of an eye. They can also grind your HP pool to dust, which is why stacking 3 times and getting 2 of these can be a nightmare for many heroes. If you see one of these guys running around next to an Enchantress or someone who picked up a hot D, you can be certain that something terrible is about to happen to you, one of your friends, or one of your buildings. The final landlubber hard camp are the Warpine Raiders, the newest addition to the roster. These guys have access to Seed Shot, which is literally just a ripoff of Hoodwink's Acorn Shot, so it shouldn't be a surprise that they were added in the same patch. It's a bouncing magical damage projectile that slows whoever it hits, which can make it good for clearing out a creep wave for zoo heroes. Other than that, they don't really do anything, but Valve, as soon as you're done making a Poliwog plushie, please get started on these guys. And back to the water for the Frog camp, which consists of 2 Croakers and a Marsh Mage. These guys basically just have upgraded versions of all the spells that they had as soon as they hit level 2. That means access to Water Bubble Medium, which now heals whenever it pops, and also Tendrils of the Deep, which is straight up ripped out of Tidehunter's old Aghanim shard. During Helm of the Dominator meta, these guys were a very common pickup because of their access to a stun and also making you move like a jet engine whenever you were in the water. Now, Valve has toned them down to make them much more in line with a normal hard camp. However, they hit harder than Hellbears and are even tankier than the Mud Golems, so good luck farming them. Before moving up to the Ancients, I wrote a little bit about the Prowler camp, mostly me crashing out about them. Feel free to read it if you like. The Dragon Camp is the first of the various ancient spawns that we're going to talk about, and they really set the tone by having a bunch of different abilities that you never need to care about. The one that you'll run into as a problem most often is the splash damage, where the big one's attack will actually convey all of its damage to everyone in an AoE around the primary target, making him a pain for Phantom Lancer, Wraith King, and anyone else who uses summons to farm. He also has Dragonhide Aura, which boosts armor by 3, and access to Fireball, which is basically Dragon Knight's Aghanim Shard, but somehow better. He will never cast this on his own, and the only way to see it is by taking him over with the Helm of the Overlord and forcing him to, which makes me think that it's rather painful to do. And on top of the realization that you've been hurting all of the neutral creeps that you've been taking over with Helm of the Dominator, they're also ranged, which makes them a pain to stack. And now for the Ancient Golems, who, based on their behavior, spells, and appearance, seem to have no relation to the Mud Golems whatsoever. The Ancient Granite Golem, which is the big one, has access to an aura that boosts the max HP of all nearby friendly units, which is a very interesting effect. Most of what it boils down to, though, is making Lifestealer players very happy. The ones in the back have Weakening Aura, which is the offensive part of an AC, and then it lowers your armor whenever you're near them. Now earlier, I mentioned that they appear to have no connection whatsoever to the Mud Golems, but my personal theory is that one of the Ancient Granite Golems actually died of easily preventable diseases and split into the two in the back. If true, this headcanon also proves that both the Radiant and Dire have awful access to public healthcare services. Dota truly is an American game. And now for the Thunderhides, and my favorite bit about these guys is that they're giant, covered in armor, have massive tails, horns, spikes, teeth, everything you can think of. And they're ranged. In between spitting on you, the big orange one, who's actually the only one who's really a Thunderhide, is able to cast Slam, a massive AoE where it slams its tail down and somehow deals damage in front of itself. It also has Frenzy, a unit target buff that applies a ton of attack speed to one of its friends. The blue ones, meanwhile, have War Drum's aura, which grants a 51% bonus accuracy aura. I guess if you're playing against a Phantom Assassin, you can somehow get whatever you need to devour these things as Doom, and then you can right-click her pathetically at very slow speed. But actually, it buffs that by 25 as well. Now for the strangely named Frostbitten camp, which consists of an Ice Shaman and 2 Frostbitten Golems. The big one has Icefire Bomb, which deals 50 magical damage per second over the course of 8 seconds, making it a pretty powerful nuke all in all. The little guys have a 14% cooldown reduction aura, which you can pick up as Chen in order to spam Hand of God as often as possible. Fun fact about these guys is that they originally debuted in Aghanim's Labyrinth, and the Ice Shaman has all of his animations and wireframe ripped straight from Witch Doctor. Now that I've told you that, you'll never be able to unsee it. And finally, for the dry camps, we have the Prowlers. Starting with the Acolytes in the back, these guys have an aura that provides a significant amount of HP regen and also lifesteal to all nearby friendly units. But I hate these guys because of the Prowler Shaman, who has access to not one, but 2 insane activated abilities. The first is Petrify, an attack modifier that roots and deals magic damage to its target. Luckily for anyone attempting to stack it, it actually has an HP threshold for casting it. It's just that HP threshold is 99%. So if you right-clicked it and attempted to run away, sorry bucko, no stack for you. It also has Desecrate, a spell that it will only cast when there are 3 or more enemy units nearby that reduces a target's base armor by 50% while also doing a ridiculous amount of damage. The duration of the debuff is a whopping 6 seconds, so good luck taking that ancient stack if this thing is cast on you. In fact, a rite of passage for Wraith King players is trying to pop skellies in order to farm these faster, only for your ultimate to suddenly go on cooldown. And lastly, the final form of the Squumbly Bimblos, the Ancient Croaker camp. These guys have been hard at work studying, and as a result, their Tendrils of the Deep have become Congregations of the Deep, which is basically a Ravage. The Ancient Marshmage has also been working out at the library, and as a result can cast the legendary Water Bubble Large. This thing is an even bigger magic damage shield that heals for 50% of its capacity whenever it pops, making these a giant pain to farm, especially when stacked. They deal a ridiculous amount of damage, are super tanky, benefit from their own Riverborn aura, and there's multiple of them on the map once the game goes late enough, so you're going to be seeing them a lot. If Valve ever makes a plushie of these, I'll soak it in milk and throw it at a wall over and over again in order to express my rage. In conclusion, neutral creeps are myriad, and you should absolutely farm them. Note that this video is not a replacement for the eventual Chen PowerPoint. Also, I looked up images of him to put on the slide, and for some reason, this one showed up. Peace on planet Earth.